Hey everyone, it is Pal Ponder on Weather coming at you with another video. In this video, we're going to talk about the much needed rainfall for the south and southeastern parts of the United States. And also stay with me to the end of the video, and all this kind of sets the stage towards the end of the month where I do think we're going to see our first snowfall for the northeast parts of the United States. So before we do get started, if you do like weather-related content, please consider subscribing to my channel. So let's get started. So here is the overall rainfall for September. And for a lot of areas in the south and southeast, it was bone dry with the inception of Imelda, where we had those 40-inch rains in the far eastern parts of Texas. But much of the central parts of Texas was bone dry, and in fact, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, it hit an all-time driest September on record, where they didn't see a drop at the DFW airport. It beat actually 2004, where they only had 0.06 inches. So it was the driest month in 120 years there. And so overall, in Louisiana, it was dry, and Alabama and Mississippi and Georgia and Florida and even Tennessee and Virginia states and Kentucky and West Virginia. All these areas saw well below normal precipitation. And here's kind of a state by state outlook. And, with the exception of Imelda, it really did a number of Texas, because most of these areas, like I told you previously, were dry. Even in Louisiana was much below normal, but these states right here were the driest on record. Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi, and Florida, Kentucky, and even West Virginia was number one all-time driest Septembers on record, dating back to 1895. So these areas are needing some much needed rainfall. So if you're with me about, the middle of September, I kind of first talked about this in my Texas Drought Buster video. You can go back and look, but what we talked about was kind of a leading indicator of the Southern Oscillation Index when it actually fell below -8. That basically implied to me that we were kind of signaling going into kind of a weak El Nino phase. Now, we are in an end zone neutral, and I expect us to remain in an end zone neutral. Climate Prediction Center has us going, 75% chance all the way through winter. But there are going to be some times, since it is neutral, where it's going to teeter kind of back and forth, where we're going to have some drier times and some wetter times. So when that Southern Oscillation Index signaled to me, and it is a leading indicator, that when it went below 8, I kind of talked about we were going to have above average precipitation for the south and southeastern parts of the United States. And I went back and looked at the records for the last 30 years. When that fell below -8 in the month of September, the following month in October, we had above average precipitation. So if you go back in 2018, when it fell to -10, October was above normal. It happened again in 2015. It happened again in 2002. It happened again in 1997. It happened again in 1994. And it also happened again in 1991. So every single time that indicator fell below -8, the following month had above average precipitation for the south and southeast. So what that basically does is that kind of activates the Pacific jet. Like I said, it was a leading indicator. So we were dry, but now we're kind of transitioning to a wetter time frame, because it activates the Pacific jet. It activates the southwest flow, when it kind of creates that overriding conditions where you have that lift and it spreads that additional moisture into the south and southeast. All right, so it's giveaway time. I'm actually giving away 2 on my rain gauges in this video and 10 in the entire month of October. And all you have to do is like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll pick 2 random viewers at the end of the month and be announced on November 1st. So 10 in total. All right, so here's the overall precipitation for the first 14 days in October, and this is how we stand right now in the first half of October. So you can see, there are some drier patches in Texas, but we are getting some wetter patches in the central part of Texas where they're getting some much needed rainfall. Again, some much needed rainfall in parts of Arkansas and Tennessee and Kentucky and parts of Virginia. But these areas right here are still bone dry that I'll show you the next map where we're going to get some much needed rainfall where we've been below normal again in Georgia, parts of South Carolina, into Kentucky, into the Virginia states, and North Carolina and South Carolina. So we need rainfall. We need it in a big way, and it's coming. So what's going to happen is here's the Canadian model for the next 10 days. And there's basically a two-pronged approach. We've got this little feature into the Caribbean. It's going to filter into the south and western parts of the Gulf of Mexico into the Bay of Campeche later on in the week, and it's going to get pulled up northward. There's some models actually showing potentially a small tropical depression, maybe potential storm. Again, these are going to be heavy rainmakers, and there's a piece of it's going to split off into the eastern Pacific where it's a known fact, and once you get past the middle of October, these systems normally get picked up into the jet stream and create that overriding into Texas and bringing that precipitation into Texas, into the south and southeast, and eventually into the north and northeastern parts of the United States. So this is the Canadian model, and here's the latest GFS model where it actually shows that rainfall a little bit further south, but it still shows that some sort of system in the Gulf of Mexico being possibly lifted up into the Gulf in the southeast to bring in much needed rainfall for Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, all of the Carolina states, and eventually in the third and fourth weeks of October into the northeastern parts of the United States. Here's the latest European model, and again it shifts it a little bit further south, where again it still implies it's going to have some sort of system coming into Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama area, Florida Panhandle, around this area right here, bringing much needed rainfall for these areas that were bone dry, that have been bone dry for the last several weeks. And eventually this will filter into the north and northeastern parts of the United States. Here is the latest GEFS model, and this actually goes back 16 days. So this puts you all the way through the end of October. Again, it shows you much above precipitation of some sort of feature into the southern Gulf of Mexico being lifted in, being pulled by a front. We're going to have one front coming in for the 16th and 17th, another front coming in on the 21st and the 22nd, and all this moisture is eventually going to filter into the south and southeast, and again later on in the month getting filtered into the north and northeastern parts of the United States. Here is the latest EPS model. Again, this shows all 51 members of the European model and kind of gives you like a summary of how they think it's going to play out for the rainfall. Again, same thing. It shows much above average precipitation in Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, all the Carolina states, and the Georgia and parts of Florida. But again, filter it in because this goes all the way through the end of the month. Shows this above average precipitation here in the north and northeastern parts of the United States. So here's what you've been waiting for. So all this kind of sets the stage for the end of the month. What's happening is we've got the polar vortex right now. It's showing signs of being disruptive, and it's actually going to be elongated. It has the teleconnections, has the NAO going negative around the October 26th, along with the PNA going positive. That should filter in colder air into the north and northeastern parts of the United States and eventually form a trough by the end of the month. And all this precipitation that will fall over the last 10 days will moisten up all layers of the atmosphere, especially in the mid layers and the upper layers of the atmosphere. So when this trough taps into that, it's going to potentially bring the first snowfall for the northeastern parts of the United States towards Halloween into the first couple days in November. So I'll be watching this area for the first snowfall for the last couple days in October or the first couple days in November around this time frame. So a lot of happy campers are going to be happy in the northeastern parts of the United States. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you did find value in this video, please consider subscribing to my channel, and please share with anybody else out there that loves weather-related content on social media. I greatly appreciate it, and definitely stay with me to the next video where I protect you before and after the storm.